know you know because I've heard it on your show before. I mean, we steal 100 to 300,000 children a year just here in this country, and then we throw the into the slaughterhouses that we own, and we grind up all the in the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets, and the people, they eat it for breakfast, they eat it, their children for lunch, and, you know, we gotta do what we do.
Yo! Tonight, I went back into the dark side of TikTok, and what I found will haunt you forever. Welcome back, family. Before the video starts, I just want to thank all my channel members. Again, it says around 90% of you guys are not subscribed, so if you're seeing this right now, join the fam and subscribe.
So finally, we get to see what it looks like when an elevator falls from a different perspective, not inside of the elevator. This is a very little to no context video that I got tagged in on TikTok that shows this person recording the doorway, the entrance to an elevator, and out of nowhere, what appears to be the elevator car falls and smashes into the ground below, sending out this miniature shockwave. Now, according to the little amount of research I was able to do given the context, it appears these people were doing an elevator demolition, more than likely for an abandoned building. It doesn't seem like they're going to be rebuilding this elevator shaft anytime soon. But really, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to show you guys why jumping at the last second if you're in a falling elevator is not going to work. You basically have little to no reaction time if you're truly in a free fall inside of an elevator, plus you can't see the ground, so this is not a viable solution. Instead, your best bet is to lay down and spread out the shock impact. Maybe you'll survive. It's certainly no guarantee, but if you were to try to jump and you were inside of this elevator car, you would be flattened like a pancake.
I feel like jumping while in a falling elevator was like an instinctual survival mechanism, because why was I thinking about that before I heard that other people thought that jumping while an elevator is falling could save them?
This is actually insane. Italian authorities are now investigating a claim that rich foreigners paid to shoot civilians on human safaris in Europe. You see, it's a well-documented fact that during the Bosnian War, Serbian forces surrounded the town of Sarajevo and killed thousands of civilians who were trapped in that city, many of whom were killed by snipers from far away. But we're now learning, according to new shocking claims, that between the years of 92 and 96, quote, sniper tourists were allegedly paying upwards of $90,000 to join these soldiers in shooting and killing random civilians. But somehow that's not even the worst part, because apparently there was a, quote, price list, and if these gun enthusiasts wanted to pay an extra price, they were allowed to shoot children. Now, these claims come from an Italian investigative author, Ezio Gavazzeni, who says that he has key evidence from a former Bosnian intelligence officer, as well as multiple other witnesses that will corroborate his claims. He says these sniper tourists were German, French, English, people from all Western countries. He says there was no political or religious motivation. They were just rich people who went there for fun and personal satisfaction. And this isn't just some wild conspiracy, because Italian prosecutors have now taken these claims so seriously that they've launched an official probe, and authorities are investigating several potential culprits in the country.
You guys, Jeffrey Dahmer and Taylor Swift are related. They are ninth cousins, and you already know me, I've got the whole family tree, so let's go. Okay, I gotta take you all the way back to the Mayflower because that's when their common descendant starts, and trust me, this tree isn't even complicated. So we had Richard and Elizabeth Warren. Richard Warren came over on the Mayflower in 1620. Elizabeth Warren came over on the Anne in 1623. She brought over the 5 daughters they already had with her. Then they had 2 sons in Plymouth, Nathaniel and their son Joseph. Now the son Nathaniel had a daughter Alice that goes down to Taylor Swift, and a son Richard, which goes down to Jeffrey Dahmer. First up on Jeffrey Dahmer's side, this is Richard Warren from the Mayflower, and these are the descendants all the way down to Jeffrey Dahmer. On Taylor Swift's side, here we go, Richard Warren and Elizabeth Warren from the Mayflower, all the way down to Taylor Swift. Just in case you need to see it side by side for yourself, there at the top is Richard and Elizabeth Warren, and you can see it goes down to Nathaniel Warren, and then it splits at his children with Alice and Richard and the line down to Taylor Swift and Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, if you also want a little bit of a history lesson, their descendant Richard Warren was one of the original signers of the Mayflower Compact.
Bro, my main thought is how the hell did she figure that out? Bro, you know how much of low-key like another life you gotta be to dig up Taylor Swift's whole family history and try to connect her to Jeffrey Dahmer?
Morbid Facts, Part 805. In 1985, veteran Miami Herald photographer Bob East went into surgery to remove a cancerous eyeball, but a tragic hospital mistake killed him instead. During the operation, doctors accidentally injected a toxic preservative chemical into his spine, thinking it was spinal fluid. The chemical, meant to preserve his removed eye, instantly caused brain damage, and East was declared brain dead soon after. He was eventually taken off of life support, while the hospital later admitted the mix-up and paid his family a $2 million settlement. When the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded just 73 seconds after liftoff in 1986, it didn't disintegrate immediately like many believe. The crew cabin actually remained intact. For nearly 3 agonizing minutes, it tumbled toward the Atlantic Ocean from a height of 50,000 feet. Investigators later found that air packs had been manually activated, suggesting that some of the 7 astronauts were still alive and possibly conscious during the entire fall. The cabin struck the ocean at over 200 miles per hour, killing everyone on impact.
There's been times where like an airplane has suddenly dipped that I've been in, and I've just been like, yo, this feels crazy. So imagine completely free falling.
You guys remember the Ronald McDonald statues on the benches back in the day?
Yeah.
You know the story why they took it off?
Yeah.
There was a case one time where there was 2 guys late at night, 2, 3 in the morning, sitting down eating McDonald's on the bench, and they were super tired, and one of them wanted to go throw the trash away, and then the other friend that stayed on the bench and sat on Ronald McDonald's lap, and he said, man, I'm so tired. And Ronald McDonald like responded to him and said, yeah, so am I. And this dude died. He had a heart attack.
Yeah, that's scary, bro. I got chills and my eyes are watering.
Putin is saying that he has evidence that we in America are being secretly fed each other. If you're a conspiracy head, you've probably known this for a while, and you're probably familiar with the movie Soylent Green, which came out in the year 1973. It's based in the year 2022, and it has this exact thing going on. A lot of us have seen these ads where Chick-fil-A says our secret ingredient is you. McDonald's and all the different fast food chains are known to say this line.
The masses have a hard time believing anything. Well, we've done a great brainwashing job on them over the centuries, and especially the last few hundred years. We've just brainwashed them completely. They believe anything we tell them. And, in the meantime, we have a lot of fun around Passover where we steal the children. And, I know you know because I've heard it on your show before. I mean, we steal 100 to 300,000 children a year just here in this country, and we train them, we mix it with a Passover bread, and then we throw the slaughterhouses that we own, and we grind up all the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets, and the people, they eat it for breakfast, they eat it their children for lunch, and as Jews, we gotta do what we do.
Has anyone else realized that this is literally part of the curses in Deuteronomy 28 for when God's people disobey his commandments? You shall eat the fruit of your womb, the flesh of your sons and daughters, whom the Lord God has given you, in the siege and in the distress with which your enemies shall distress you. So when an entire land lives in extreme disobedience, like how the US is right now and these last few years, God is a just judge. He has to give legal rights where they're owed. So we've been given over to the enemy spiritually. So this is part of the warning that we are getting. And the reason I've been bringing things like this up a lot recently is because I have found that people find God when God shakes worldly systems, when people realize that they can't depend on any man-made system or any man. They come right out, just like it says in Revelation, take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of the things that they do in secret. But when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. For anything that becomes visible is light. Therefore it says, awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. It is time to wake up and find Jesus. He is the only thing that will save us from this mess, and he loves you. Do not be afraid of the things in the world if you are a follower of Christ. If you do not yet know him, I would highly suggest getting to know him. Otherwise, you might want to be afraid.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I can literally see why YouTube is limiting these videos. That's crazy, bro.
Are you ready to take your energy to the next level? Let's get this party cranked. It's time for some Red Bull. You know what gives you wings? 26 grams of pure sugar, baby. Feel that heart race? Let's go! 80 milligrams of caffeine, baby. That's right, enough to make your heart dance in your chest. You don't need sleep, you need speed. Taurine, baby, straight from the bull. It's what keeps your heart pounding and your brain buzzing at 30,000 feet. Who needs needs gravity when you've got W wings? Who cares what it does to your kidneys or liver, bro? You can't surf when you're asleep. Ha ha ha! Keep the energy high, keep the organs guessing. Red Bull! It gives you wings.
This was former Australian Prime Minister Paul Keating's daughter leaving Jeffrey Epstein's luxury apartment. Hey, yo. That's crazy.
I find it interesting that Erica Kirk was caught using tear solution before going on stage to, you know, have so much sorrow and sadness for her husband. Like we've seen in so many videos, this like grieving widow that is just so sad. Isn't that just strange, guys? Just watch this one more time and just think to ourselves, if you had someone so close to you that tragically passed away, would you really need to like do that to, you know, cry? Have a listen to some of her speeches after.
Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man.
I'm sorry, but I'm not the only one who kind of thinks that everything that Erica Kirk has done since this horrible assassination doesn't really scream grieving widow, now does it? It doesn't give that vibe. Kind of like this. And it's so interesting that she's wearing all these Freemason rings, and 33 was just surrounded. The number 33 was just surrounded with this whole event. Perhaps it's all staged, and she's an actor, kind of the way it feels and looks to us, yeah. Just for entertainment purposes only, guys. Of course, this is just a joke. Nothing serious here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't forget to like, share, and follow for more hidden truth. Bye.
If I'm being honest, I have no idea how to feel about the Erica Kirk situation. I mean, she did lose her husband, but at the end of the day, with the conspiracies, it's kind of just like, you don't really know, because she kind of do feel too touchy on JD Vance in a way. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I'll be seeing pictures, I'm just like, dude, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Her husband died, but like, you don't need to be all like, they're all just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just look how they're acting. Like, why?
Let's see if it bubbles. It like bubbled at the top before. Did you see that? It like, ew. Do you smell that? What is this? And no plate. And no license plate. No license plate. Did you see that? What is that? Oh my god. And no license plate. Ew. Police.
Human and rat DNA found in burgers, scientists say. What's more American than chomping down on a juicy burger? What if there was rat DNA in the mix? And human DNA. This is disgusting, folks. Remember when McDonald's apparently had human DNA in their meat? What many consumers don't know is that some amounts of human and rat DNA may fall within an acceptable regulatory range. This is just disgusting, folks. And if you noticed on the back of the truck, it said inedible, so maybe it's not human meat, but I kind of just used that video to grab your attention. Here's the thing though, folks. Think about all of the burger patties that are produced worldwide to feed all of these disgusting people going to McDonald's. Do you really think we have enough cows on the planet to even support that? Think about how much meat we even throw out. Anyways, this video was for entertainment purposes only. Of course you're not eating human meat when you're going to McDonald's. Or are you?
Bro, I've heard way too much stuff about McDonald's meat in the last 30 days, dude. Like, I don't think I can ever go back to McDonald's the same again.
Heaven's Gate. Founded by Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite, who identified as the two witnesses of revelation from Christianity, the Heaven's Gate cult believed that followers could transform themselves into immortal extraterrestrial beings by rejecting their human nature, and they would ascend to heaven, referred to as the next level or the evolutionary level above human. They believed that the Earth was about to enter a doomsday event, and that the only way to survive was to leave their human bodies and ascend to a higher level of existence. They thought this could be achieved by boarding a spaceship they believed was trailing the Hale-Bopp comet, which appeared in 1997. When the comet arrived, their website was updated with this message, and shortly after, the 39 members were found dead, as they committed mass unalivement in a ritual, believing that their deaths would allow their souls to board the spaceship.
Dude, that is like prime example of psychosis.
Would you spend the night for $1 million?
Ho ho ho!
$1 million is a lot of money, but honestly, hell no, man. You're not catching me spending the night in here at all. This TikTok video that I got tagged in doesn't have a whole lot of context. It shows this person walking through clearly an abandoned building. Lining all of the walls here are what look to be cubbies, but these are no ordinary cubbies. These are locations where bodies are stored. Now, you might be tempted to think that this person's walking through an abandoned morgue, and while I will agree they do look similar, this is more than likely an out-of-ground cemetery or mausoleum. Though, I will say, the cubbies essentially act the same way. They're going to store somebody's body. It's clear this spot hasn't seen any level of maintenance in a very long time, and I'd be willing to bet that there are still remains in a lot of these compartments, so if you're going to explore an area like this, you better be wearing a mask and other personal protective equipment. Other than that, this video is more sad because the loved ones here are not getting the care that they deserve in their afterlife. Also, are you really going to tell me that this place is not haunted? There's no way that it's not.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, these girls are, abused. I am sure these people are selected very carefully to look certain way, certain heights. The worst part is that, some of these people, they don't ever get to contact their family ever again because they've came in contact with foreign cultures, right? They're going to different countries. You might say something that North Korean regime doesn't want you to say. Some could say they're a little over the top, but that's what they have to do every day.
What happens if they say no?
Then you're no longer be there? You would get fired from society, yeah.
Soon after the Beatles dissolved in 1969, one of the four members, John Lennon, left his native England and moved to New York City. Lennon and his wife, Yoko Ono, took up residence in the Dakota, which is a very famous building that typically houses the rich and famous people of New York. As soon as Lennon moved to New York, he said that he felt relieved because he didn't have to worry about going outside and getting mobbed by a massive crowd of people that were obsessed with the Beatles. There were people that were huge Beatles fans in New York, but they seemed more respectful. Mark David Chapman had always been a massive fan of the Beatles with a particular interest in John Lennon. But after a 1966 interview where John Lennon, off the cuff, said that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus, this soured Chapman's adoration of Lennon. Chapman started referring to Lennon as a poser and said that he espoused virtues and ideals that he himself did not practice. Chapman went from this adoring fan of the Beatles and John Lennon to really solely hating John Lennon and everything he stood for. In 1980, it's safe to say Mark Chapman had become obsessed with John Lennon. Specifically, he had become obsessed with hating John Lennon. In October of 1980, Chapman quits his job as a security guard and flies to New York City. For 2 months, he stayed in the city and didn't really do much of anything. But that would all change on December 8th, 1980. On that day, Chapman went to the Dakota and he stood right outside the entrance to this building and just waited in hopes that he might run into John Lennon. At 5 p.m. that day, John Lennon comes out with his wife Yoko Ono and they walk right past Mark Chapman, who flags them down, and he asks John if he can have his autograph. John still took the time to sign an autograph for Mark Chapman. He was very friendly with Mark and asked him if this is enough. Do you want anything else? And Mark said, no, that's it. That's fine. John and his wife Yoko Ono turned and went into the limousine and they drove away. When the couple got back to the Dakota that night, Mark Chapman had not left. But as soon as they passed Mark and were making their way into the building, Mark Chapman drew a gun and John Lennon 4 times in the back. John Lennon staggers into the lobby screaming, I'm before collapsing and dying. And Mark Chapman, he knew what he was doing. He just stood there, put the gun back in his pocket and just waited to be arrested. Chapman's lawyers wanted him to plead insanity, but he refused and instead said, I was totally sane. I knew what I was doing. I chose to John Lennon, and I plead guilty. And he was given 20 years to life in jail. And while he was in jail, he would admit that the only reason he did that was to become famous. That was it. This is the picture of Mark Chapman getting that autograph from John Lennon in front of the Dakota just hours before he would him down.
That is super scary, dude. I'm not gonna lie. R.I.P. John Lennon.
This woman was arrested for trying to convince her 10-year-old daughter to kill her foster parents and a 2-month infant over Roblox.
What?
This happened in October 2024. This lady, Tara Sykes, was playing Roblox with her 10-year-old daughter. I don't know the full history between this woman and her daughter, but her daughter is living with like a foster home. This woman, Tara, was chatting with her daughter through Roblox and was pretty much telling her 2-month-old infant that lived in the same house as her daughter. She told her 2-month-old infant in a bathtub full of boiling water and into on its head.
What the hell?
And not only that, she was also telling her ways to foster parents.
Really?
And she was telling her daughter to go into the room while they're sleeping.
Yeah.
To cover their sheets with gasoline or some type of lighter fluid and to they're sleeping.
Wow.
After they had this conversation, I think like a week or two later, she had the 2-month-old baby, and I think she was holding her by like her feet or something, and she ended up. One of the foster parents who were there, I think it was the father who lives there, he calls the police, he calls the ambulance come. The police take this little 10-year-old girl in for questioning, and they ask her like, yo, why would you do this?
And she
tells them like, I was playing Roblox with my mom, and my mom was telling me to do it. The police go and arrest her mother. Craziest thing is like they have the message logs from Roblox of her saying all these things, and they're also trying to hold Roblox accountable for it too. But for some reason, Roblox is pretty much saying like there is no proof of them using the game to conspire to this crime or something. So they ended up arresting her. Since this happened last year, I don't think she got like fully sentenced, but they're trying to get her for attempted murder.
Wow, bro, that's sick. I'm not even gonna lie. The fact that now you're telling your kid to go and these people
through Roblox.
Yeah, that's wild.
Crazy.
My God, bro, that's a whole dinosaur. I'm about to be rich. I need at least $1 million for this discovery. Wait, hey!
Raise your hand if you've ever seen this creature before. 99% of your guys' hands are probably up. This video that I was tagged in shows a strange looking bird with this guy approaching him, and once he gets close enough, the bird starts menacingly walking towards the cameraman. When the cameraman turns around and puts some distance between himself and the bird is doing this pose right here, which is meant to scare him away and intimidate him. Now, even though it doesn't look like it, the bird that we're most likely dealing with here is this guy known as the Eurasian bittern. These guys are oftentimes cited in these ridiculous memes because of the weird body positions that they put themselves in, like this where they'll just stand straight up and look down at you. While this bird did back off the cameraman, they're actually not really dangerous at all or a harm to humans, they just look pretty strange. Of course, they do have the ability to puff their feathers up, make themselves look a little bit more menacing, and this is meant to deter predators from messing with them. I think it's a little bit overdramatic though to say that we need a new meteorite. These guys just exist and do their own thing.
My children of purity, you came hungry, but not for food. You crave something holy.
Behold, the flesh of the brand, the bread of convenience, the sauce of salvation. Blessed are the fried, for they shall be golden. Forgive our cholesterol, as we forgive those who fry against us. Repeat after me. My pleasure is thy pleasure. My pleasure is thy pleasure. Yes, blessed are the fried. Do you feel it flowing through your veins? This oil is divine fuel, the blood of our brand. I am grease made flesh. I am pleasure eternal.
Taste the devotion, the warmth of obedience on your tongue. You eat to forget the hunger, but the hunger is me.
You're already infected. Brain rot reels.
Would you jump in for $1 million?
There's probably a lot of people watching this that are new viewers to my channel, but man, this video right here is very nostalgic to watch. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows a person recording a very fast flowing stream of water. The question is posed, would you swim in this for $1 million? At first, you might think, maybe I'd have a chance at survival. But once you see the bottom, it's very clear that you would not survive going down this. I don't care if you think you would, you're not going to. What we're looking at is another example of something known as a dam spillway. You guys probably remember me recently talking about spillways that look like this with a hole. These spillways serve the exact same purpose, removing excess water from reservoirs in a controlled way. This level of flow right here is definitely not normal. This is very excessive. In fact, on a lot of dam spillways like this, people will use them like water slides. Though this is definitely not recommended. I am not endorsing people to go do this. This is a great example though to show just how powerful water is when it's flowing, and yeah, you're not surviving going down this.
A pilot refuses to take off, then a woman spies on the crew and realizes they've been set up.
You're not gonna need a part 2. A lady named Tracy was a very nervous flyer, but she had a huge trip coming up that required her to fly. Everything at the airport went smooth, and then she boarded her plane. Tracy was sitting on the plane for over an hour and it still hadn't taken off yet, so she asked the flight attendant what was going on. Tracy then overheard the cabin crew talking about a passenger, and then they slammed the cabin door shut and locked it. All of a sudden, security guards ran onto the plane and surrounded a man. The pilot announced that the threat was under control, but that made Tracy panic even more. She sprung out of her seat and walked up to the security. She realized they were surrounding an old man with dementia. She realized this because of the bracelet he was wearing and decided to call the phone number on the back. Tracy ended up talking to the old man's son, and he came to the airport to pick up his dad and told Tracy he had no idea why his dad was even on the plane in the first place. Follow me to end part 2s.
I just found out there's a restaurant chain in the United States that if you connect the dots on the map of where these restaurant locations are, it forms pentagrams in 7 different cities. Now, I don't like using ChatGPT, but I had to ask it one question. What are the odds of a restaurant chain in the United States making the restaurants on the map make up pentagrams in 7 different cities across the states? One word answer only: astronomical. The restaurant chain in question? Outback Steakhouse. You may be thinking, this one in New York City is just a coincidence. It's surely not a recurring theme here. Here's another one in Indianapolis. Pentagram, upside down. Here's another one in Florida, shaping a pentagram. And there's even more. At this point, the odds of that being in one city maybe are extremely low, but multiple are absolutely insane. So then, who owns Outback Grill Restaurant Action Steakhouse? Well, their parent company, I did some digging, is Bloomin' Brands. So then you got to follow the money. Who owns Bloomin' Brands? And are they satanic? Of course, we got to ask. Well, I was just shocked to find out that its largest shareholder is Vanguard. Now, you may be thinking, is Vanguard a company that is interested in the longevity, health, and prosperity of the world, and into organicness, and into healthy things, and into making water and air and food clean and pure and prosperous humanity? I'm not so sure. Do they get together in back rooms and shady deals under the table? I don't know.
This man claimed he could sell people tickets to heaven, and somehow people actually believed him. This story takes us back to Nigeria. Meet Pastor AA, a self-proclaimed prophet from Ekiti State. In early 2022, Pastor AA told his congregation that the world was coming to an end and that God had chosen a small group of people to be saved. But there was a catch. To be saved, they had to leave everything behind: their homes, their jobs, and even their families. He told them to follow him to a small village in Edo State where the rapture would take place. A literal journey to heaven. And then Pastor AA introduced a ticket system. He said God instructed him to charge 310,000 naira for what he called the transport fare to heaven. Some members paid immediately in cash, while others had to sell everything they had just to come up with the money. And this wasn't just a few people. Over 40 people followed him, including women and children. They moved into a remote forest with no electricity, no phone signal, and no access to the outside world. Just the church members, the pastor, and daily sermons about the end of days. The congregation lived in these tents for weeks under the strict rules of Pastor AA. One woman said she was told to stop talking about her family because they weren't chosen. And another recalled how they were discouraged from asking questions. Instead, they were told to fast, to pray, and to stay alert because the trumpets could sound at any moment. Meanwhile, outside the forest, the real world was catching on. Relatives couldn't reach their loved ones who were in the forest. People started asking questions, and eventually someone called the police. And in April 2022, Officers raided the camp and rescued dozens of people. Some were taken to the hospital while others had to be deprogrammed. The police arrested Pastor Double A and began an investigation. But even then, he did not back down. He told reporters that he was sent by God and his followers were never forced to follow him. They were only guided. He claimed he had done nothing wrong. Till today, no one knows exactly how much he allegedly collected, and some of his followers still believe in him. So what do you guys think? Did he really do nothing wrong, considering the fact that his followers followed him willingly?
I'm the federal government. Of course we can track you even when your phone is off. It's our duty to control, protect the citizens. I'm the federal government. Of course we monitor you online for behavioral trends. That For You page is really a For Us page. I'm the federal government. Hey, incognito mode is just a formality, bro. If you're watching transporters on the hub, we know about it. I'm the federal government. Of course we give the richest companies on the planet however much money they want. But no, we don't have the money to help the homeless. Ew. I'm the federal government. Wait, is that a country that has nothing to do with the US? They have oil? Well, you know, their leader is a terrorist. It's not true, but you know how I get down. I'm the federal government. Of course we control the weather. I'm the federal government. Of course we did 9/11. Just needed a reason to get that oil. I mean, come on. You think some random dudes hijacked 3 planes and then goat fucked us? Not a chance, buddy. I'm the federal government. Of course we test mind control. Hell, at this point, we're not even testing it. We really doing it. You really think you chose that app, buddy? No, it chose you. I'm the federal government. Of course we can shut down the internet whenever we want. When your internet stops working, it's not a glitch. Some dumbass on Reddit just said too much this time. We had to shut it down. I'm the federal government. Of course all this stuff is true. We just count on you being too broke, overworked, and tired to care. Now get your ass back to work, you slave.
Guy posts this picture of his new dog and people immediately call the police on him.
You're not gonna need a part 2. After moving into his brand new house, a man named Dan decided to adopt a dog. Dan named the dog Diggy and immediately started posting photos of him and the dog on Facebook. A few days after some of the photos on Facebook went viral, the police showed up to his house because it was illegal to own pit bulls in that town. They gave Dan a ticket and even threatened jail time, even though Diggy's papers said he was an American bulldog and not a pit bull. After months and months of confrontation and even having to go to court, the judge decided that Dan could keep his dog. Follow me to end part 2s.
Humans are a bunch of mutant slaves on a prison planet. According to the oldest document in existence, the Sumerian tablets, 7 beings called the Anunnaki came from heaven to earth and genetically modified humans in an outdoor laboratory called Eden, where they created the first man named Adamu to mine gold as a slave race so they didn't have to work. And if that sounds crazy to you, that's exactly how the 1% operates the global economy to this day.
Dude, why did that just sound like the creation story Anunnaki edition? I don't know, man. To me, I don't even know if it's even worth thinking about, like, how this whole thing started or not. Like, we're just here, you know what I'm saying? No matter what we believe, either someone said it, because no one was here for it.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe.